Welcome to Food Friends, a podcast inspiring home cooks to try new dishes in the kitchen by sharing trusted recipes, tips, and friendship. Hi, I'm Sonya.
And I'm Kari. We met in Los Angeles over 15 years ago as personal chefs and haven't stopped talking about food since. We're so glad you're here. Thanks for being our food friend.
If you enjoyed our podcast, please subscribe, leave us a review, and share this episode with friends. We love hearing from you, so follow us on Instagram or drop us a line at foodfriendspodcast.com.
Yes, we'd love to hear from you and your food friends. Happy cooking and eating.
Hi, Kari.
Hi, Sonya.
So today we have a really interesting listener question to answer.
So we had a listener, Sophie from New York, and this is what she writes. My sister and her fiance bought a house and decided to finally scrap all of their old college apartment kitchen stuff. If you were completely starting your kitchen over, what are 5 things you couldn't live without? Appliances, ingredients, tools. Sonya, this is such a great question that a lot of people write in and ask us.
I do think that each of those categories deserves its own answer.
Totally.
Because appliances versus ingredients versus tools are very different things. I think focusing on tools / equipment that aren't electrical appliances might be a good starting point, and also the most accessible starting point.
I agree. And also the fact that she says her sister is engaged, which means that there's a wedding coming. And I would say that's when you ask for bigger ticket items. People can get together and buy you these things that you will keep in your kitchen for 15, 20, 30, 40 years.
So I'm curious what your list is. I have mine going. I would say my number one thing is a good set of stainless steel pots and pans. And by set, I mean like a large pot that you can boil pasta water in and make soup in, a deep skillet that you can make a sauce in, a little pan that you can fry things in. Obviously, I have more than stainless steel. I love cast iron too, and ceramic, nonstick, and all those things. But the stainless steel pots and pans that I got actually during college, I still use every single day. Every single day.
Well, Sonya, I'm both going to agree and disagree with you because I completely agree. Having a set of stainless steel cookware is really important. I'm curious to know, which we don't have the answer to, what does this couple have and what are they maybe asking for on their registry?
Maybe their registry, they want to donate to something. Like, we don't know. So I would just say, if you're really starting your kitchen over, which is a question you and I both get a lot. So I'm thinking of married, non-married, any person. I think that if you're saying you're scrapping your college version, I think we often start out with nonstick or they're aluminum or they're just not really sturdy. I think those cheaper pots and pans, they're not bad. You can make them work. But having one set that really is going to last your entire life is worth the investment. And also, you don't have to go to all clad. You don't have to get the version that's $200 a pan. I think the entire set that I have maybe cost at most $150. And I think there's similar sets available even now. And I think these are actually things you can also sometimes find on Facebook Marketplace.
Absolutely. Well, I will say I do have all clad because that's what I registered for. But I registered for the most basic of everything because that's all you need. You don't need those like copper, whatever. I'm sorry, all clad. I just don't agree. I don't think you need 17 different versions of the same pan. What's funny is I actually took the big soup pot off of my registry and I fully regretted it. And then I finally bought it for myself 5 years later. It was like something I pined away for. So I think having a big pot that you can boil pasta in, that you can make a great soup in, that you could put a pot roast in the oven if you're going to braise something, that will totally work as well. So I think that that's a great starting point. My number one thing that I would suggest to them are 2 good cutting boards. And what I mean by 2 good cutting boards is I like a big wooden cutting board for cutting bread, like a big loaf of bread or a baguette. I also use that cutting board to cut strawberries, peaches, bananas, anything that I don't want to be mixing with all the other flavors like onions, garlic, and herbs, and ginger. So I would also buy a really high quality plastic cutting board that you can put in the dishwasher.
I love this conversation because we're not going to agree on everything. And I think that's the point. We don't have to agree. Two cooks, three opinions. I also, though, my number 2 item, this is a perfect segue, was a really good wooden cutting board. So you and I completely agree about that. A large size one. I actually found my dream cutting board on Facebook Marketplace. It was like a beautiful vintage giant butcher block board. And that will last you a lifetime. It had lasted the previous people. They were like in their 80s. Anyway,
wow.
And her husband had made a new one. So that's why they were getting rid of the old one, because he became a woodworker in his retirement. Long story short, a good wooden cutting board is another lifelong investment, especially if you take care of it and you periodically use some oil on it. I got rid of all my plastic cutting boards because...
Do you cut your onions on the same place you cut your strawberries, though?
No, I have one small fruit cutting board.
Okay.
Like one wooden just for fruit. And it's actually in the shape of a fruit. And that's how I know it's for fruit. And I do cut onions on my big cutting board because I find that I can wash off that smell. I don't cut garlic on that. I also have a little tiny wooden cutting board just for garlic.
Just for garlic. Okay.
You don't need 7 cutting boards. One good cutting board and then maybe one separate thing for either fruit or for onions. I know someone who has one big cutting board and he carved in fruit on one side. And so he designates one side to fruit and the other side to things that are stinky like onions and garlic.
Well, I'm glad that we're having this conversation because I think it also goes down to the nuance of your own family. And I think for me, now that my husband is cooking in the kitchen, I was like, do not chop onions on that wooden board. And so I think for his brain, I'm just like, use all the plastic for chopping your onions and garlic. And anytime you've got some fruit or some bread, use the wooden ones. And my big wooden cutting board is something I registered on at Crate & Barrel for my wedding, which was 15 years ago. To your point, it's like if you take really good care of it, if you oil it every once in a while, it's something I use every single day. They last forever.
And it was like for me a tie between a wooden salad bowl and wood cutting board for this conversation. But I have to tell you, when I found this cutting board, the joy of having this, I don't know how to explain. When you have an amazing cutting board, if you love home cooking, it will bring so much joy to your life. I am happy every time I'm chopping vegetables. I can't.
You can also serve on it. I've also served plenty of things on that wooden cutting board. I've taken it on vacation with me before. Road trips, not plane trips. It's a very worthy investment.
So what's your second one?
So my second one is buy 3 good knives. Yeah. And the 3 good knives that I would say that you need are a French knife that you can chop with, a big French knife, a paring knife that you can cut an apple with, cut strawberries with, and I think a long serrated knife is also important for cutting a loaf of bread.
You mean French knife like a chef's knife?
Yes, a chef's knife.
Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I have a Japanese chef's knife and I really like it, but I agree, you don't need any more than those 3. Although it's not in my top 5, but not because I don't agree, but just because 5 is a very short list. My third one is maybe a surprise. It's a meat thermometer. I think every home cook benefits from having a digital meat thermometer. I've been in so many kitchens where people don't have it. It takes all the guesswork out of, is this chicken cooked? Is this steak the right temperature? Is this fish done? I use mine all the time.
I think that's a genius suggestion because I sort of take for granted that I have one. I've had one since I became a personal chef, and it is something that I continue to rely on all the time. But it's just not something I think about. It's just something that is already there and I grab. My third item is an Anchor Hocking glass batter bowl.
Oh, yeah. The one that you can pour.
The one that you can pour. It's like 8 cups. It has a handle on it. It works for all liquid measure. My guess is if this couple has been living together and they're getting married, they probably have a 1 cup and a 2 cup and maybe a 4 cup. I have all of those too. This one, I use it for so many things. My mom had one when I was growing up. We would boil water in the microwave in that batter bowl, and then we would make iced tea in it, so you can make drinks in it, you can make mocktails and cocktails, and I use it obviously for batter, for making pancakes, but I also mix salads in that bowl because it has a handle. It's really easy to move around the kitchen.
I love this suggestion. I don't have the Anchor brand, but I have something similar. I use it all the time. I use it when I'm straining broth, when I'm making homemade nut milk. There's so many things I'm using it for. It's getting pulled out of the drawer regularly. So that's such a great suggestion.
It's a really small investment for something I literally use every single day.
Yes. And it will last you a lifetime if you don't drop it.
If you don't drop it. So Sonya, what's your next item?
So I really want to just pair these together. You need a pair of tongs and you need a fish spatula. I understand they're two different items, but they're items I see missing from so many people's home kitchens, especially tongs. And I want to be really clear about what kind of tongs, because I've seen so many tongs that don't work well. So you don't want ones that are flimsy plastic at the top that can't grip anything. My preference is fully metal and with something that can grip and to hold on to something hot. Silicone grippies are a little better if that's what you have, but a good solid pair. I use that to pick up pieces of roast chicken, to flip something over in a pan, to saute some mushrooms and move them around. I can't imagine being a cook without a pair.
It's like an extension of your hand.
Of your hand.
I mean, I think what's so great about the two of us having this conversation, and because I take my tongs with me if I go cook at someone else's house.
That's right.
Because very often people have those grilling tongs that are like 3 feet long because they don't want to get their hand too close to the grill, which I think is actually more dangerous because then you have less control over them. And they also hurt your hand because they have a harder spring on them. So I think I completely agree with you. I don't like the silicone ones. I think you need a short pair. I use them every single day. I use them to pull toast out of the oven. I
pasta
use them all the
noodles,
time.
spaghetti
pasta
noodles,
all the things. Yeah.
And I also have mini ones too. I have the kind of standard size. I also have smaller ones, which are so helpful if you have a buffet and you want people to get salad or serve themselves some roasted vegetables. I love tongs. And I'm just saying fish spatula parentheses because most people have spatulas, those flat spatulas. Usually they're plastic or silicone, sometimes metal, which is not so great if you're using them in nonstick pans. A fish spatula is also metal, but it's long and thin. I don't think anything flips a latke better. I don't think anything flips a piece of fish better, or a meat patty or a burger better.
Or a cookie.
Or a cookie that you want to remove off a tray. I use it every single day as well.
A fish spatula is actually something that was missing from my kitchen until like 2 years ago. And we had this conversation. And you said the fish spatula is essential in my kitchen, and then you gifted me one for Christmas. It is, again, one of the first things I reach for when I need to flip anything. It's perfect for my hand. It has a great lip, get all the crispy pieces.
I'm so glad. It's a great gift to give to someone too who's just starting out. It sounds random, but they're going to love it.
They're going to love it, and you can use it for everything. Well, Sonya, my next item is a cast iron griddle and indoor grilling combo. It's the size of 2 burners on my stove. And I use that griddle for quesadillas, grilled cheese. You can turn the other side over and grill fish or chicken or whatever in your house if it's cold. I also put that griddle in my oven if I need to boost it for bread baking, or I want to get something really toasty on the bottom or on the top. It kind of supercharges my oven. I know that this isn't something that everyone will use, but I think what's really great about it is it's cast iron, so it's actually not that expensive. I think it's maybe $40. It just sits out on my stove, or I put it in my oven, and I use that at least 3 times a week.
I see you using that all the time when I come to visit. I love the grilled cheese you make on that, but you're right. You can make so many things. You can make pancakes. You can make, and I think having a flat top cast iron griddle is a must have. I think cast iron in general, it's hard to pick, again, just 5. Yes. So I'm glad you brought that up because I don't think that's something people often think of, and it will also last you a lifetime.
So what's your last essential item for a home kitchen?
I have a feeling it might be yours as well. A good sheet pan.
A good sheet pan. That's mine too. It's so funny. We both save the best for last.
And again, it comes from being in so many people's kitchens over the years, and so many people have flimsy sheet pans, or they don't have any sheet pans, and I don't know how you live without it. But having a sturdy, you don't need to get the fanciest ones, but we love Nordic ware. We love Great Jones. We're not sponsored by either. The restaurant supply stores always have really good affordable ones. Those ones are just so sturdy than those very thin sheet pans that barely hold their heat.
I think it goes back to the point that you made about a good set of stainless steel pots and pans, which is that oftentimes when you're starting out, you're buying those things at the grocery store or at some cheap place, and the cheap flimsy ones are dangerous and they don't cook your food well.
And they warp in the oven.
And all those things. To your joy about your great cutting board that you have, you gifted me with those Great Jones pans years ago now. It's been years. And they are so joyful to cook with. The amount of times that I take cookies on them or cakes or, take them other places and I use them as a serving piece. They're so durable. They're so beautiful. They make your food look really great. It's such a great investment. It really is.
And then you gifted me Great Jones baking sheets, which I love too. They're so joyful. They're colorful. They're colored, very sturdy, nonstick sheet pans that are awesome. But I use all of the sheet pans, and the more the merrier. I feel like you can never have enough. Both you and I have a stack in our kitchens, but even just having one in your kitchen is
one
really
good one.
Important.
Even just start with one good one. It really makes a big difference. So, Sophie, thank you for asking this question. I hope this helps your sister and her fiance. I think the specificity of this kitchen can help every home cook at whatever stage of life that you're in. Even you showed me that I was really missing that fish spatula, and now it's something I can't believe I lived without it.
Well, you brought this up before, but you showed me that everyone needs a wide mouth funnel.
Mouth funnel, that's another one, but that was not on my top 5.
I know, that's not, top 5 is, it's a tough thing to narrow down. This is always a delight. Until next time. Bye.
Thanks for being our food friend.
If you enjoyed our podcast, please subscribe, leave us a review, and share this episode with friends. We love hearing from you, so follow us on Instagram or drop us a line at foodfriendspodcast.com.
Yes, we'd love to hear from you and your food friends. Happy cooking and eating.